pleasure to meet you all at last, and welcome back to films I should have talked about years ago. And you know what? I feel like I'm on a roll here at this point, because, well, if you can't already tell, I've talked a lot about different films out there, some of which seemed average, but then, yesterday, I talked about Rampage. Man, for a video game movie, I never quite expected it to be so good, by any means. With a score of 8.9, how can this next one possibly top it? Well, you know what? I guess just for today, let's go ahead and talk about something that was quite different than many others. Suicide Squad. And I feel like that the timing is perfect here because we are about to get a sequel of it. Simply called The Suicide Squad. Like, what in the world is happening here? If it's a sequel, call it Suicide Squad 2! But I'm going to be talking about part 1 for right now because that film's not even out. When I will get the chance to talk about that when it does come out, and I'll most likely not see it in theaters because of, well, you know, I feel like I've touched up on that way too many times, so I'm just going to lay off on that. But anyways, not to get off track, let's talk a little bit about Suicide Squad 1. If that's what we have to call it now. So, anyways, Suicide Squad itself was in fact a bit of a collaborative effort in a way to try and create a bit of a, well, a collaboration between all the different DC cliches and heroes and villains at the time period. In this exact effort, I feel like that they should have really rethought on the kind of writing that they put together, but if there's one thing that's certainly important, the premise. And there are a ton of other things out there that I would also want them to fix up by the time the sequel is out, but you know what? I guess I can't do much about it. Other than just say that Suicide Squad 1, I don't even know what to say about it. Like, really? If there's one big thing out there that I feel like I really need to get out of my head right now, it would have to be Jared Leto. Jared Leto playing as the Joker? Where is Mark Hamill in all this? Like, what in the world were you thinking, DC? Jared Leto? What is... Oh my gosh. Like, it's as if they could not make a worse choice than Jared Leto. Man. And I guess what makes matters worse about this is the fact that I've been hearing from a lot of people out there who at the same time think that Michael Jackson is a pedophile. They think that Jared Leto's Joker is the best one of all. You're insane in the membrane. Legit. I don't even know what to say anymore. Suicide Squad 1 is one of those strange cases that DC apparently decided to give to us when we least expected it. When we least expected a Justice League thing out there, and you know what? I kind of jumped the gun right there. Because that's exactly what happened the following year! Oh, man. Man, did it flop. I felt kind of stupid claiming it was a good movie, but you know what? Oh, man. I don't ever want to talk about that again. Nor the Snyder Cut. No way! Oh, man. I am going insane right now. Just talking about Suicide Squad is legit giving me those weird flashes that there were tons of awful movies out there we've gotten in the past couple of decades, but I mean, I guess Suicide Squad would have to have some sort of unique merits that help distinguish it apart from other bad movies and therefore attempt to make it better. Well, you know what? I guess there are probably a couple of things out there. Because after all, Jared Leto as the Joker is probably not one of the only things out there that happens to give this film quite a unique way to be looked at by millions of people today. Because, well, take a look at the plot. The plot, of course, revolves around many of the villains trying to find a way out of the situations that they have been in. You got others out there, including Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Killer Croc, of course. I'm going to talk a little bit about Killer Croc right now. For a live-action film that stars, well, Killer Croc in it, this was pretty much the first time they had it. But let me tell you, compared to the Batman Arkham games, which really set upon for Killer Croc's true appearance, being gigantic in size, pretty much, and then, of course, very monstrous in terms of, well, many looks. But in this instance, you have a Killer Croc that I feel like would compare to Topher Grace's version of Venom from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series. So, again, somewhat shorter in stature, and therefore puny, pathetic, and would have to have a lot of work done just to perfect it. But in this case, they did not do so. So again, I don't really know exactly what to identify here, other than, well, a lot of these other unique things that I seem to find all the time, but that's only because, to my knowledge, Suicide Squad is one of those strange cases. And you know what? Because there's a sequel out there, well, pretty soon, in late 2021, I'm supposing that some people might have found a lot of ways to think that this movie was good and therefore needed a sequel with James Gunn at the controls. Yeah, after coming out from things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Brightburn, we now have to have James Gunn's little work done to make sure that the sequel to Suicide Squad is going to be much better. Well, you know what? I guess to be fair, I have looked on some of the trailers for it. I don't really know if they should be called trailers because after all, there are a lot of things going into the sequel by this point, and there's been so much talk going on about it, I don't even know where to begin at this point. For a sequel to the Suicide Squad, an already strange, bad case out there of filmmaking in the modern era, I will say that maybe, just maybe, I do hope to give this a chance. But if Suicide Squad 2, yeah, I'm never calling it The Suicide Squad, because it's just like with The Final Destination and The Fast and the Furious and The anything. The word The doesn't distinguish itself much from an original film. Man. Sequels really need to be numbered. Or have cliche titles, subtitles pretty much. Not The as part of the title itself. Well, anyways, like I've said, Suicide Squad is a rather strange case, and aside from the plot and premise and, well, hilarious attempts at most other things, I'd say it's a bad movie. Quite bad, actually. If you do find a lot of highlights in there that are worth entertaining, then, well, good for you. But the fact that I only watched it once after it was already out in theaters, because, well, I do not want to go watch bad movies in theaters, waste my money on something that I know I'm going to hate. So, the thing is, if I wanted to give this a score, then, well, it's not going to be very good. I can tell you that right now. So, here we go. 5.1 out of 10. An official Kaiju Force Neo ranking to Suicide Squad from 2016 is 5.1. Yeah, that's all you're going to get pretty much from me. And there are tons of other movies out there that have considerably lower scores that, well, I suppose I probably will have to talk about sometime. But until then, I'm going to be coming across a bunch of other films out there that I've also yet to talk about. So expect those to show up pretty soon. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.